Hi there, Deborah Roth, tuning in at an unusual time for my Facebook crowd. Those of you that watch this on YouTube, you won't know the difference, but internet was down for 2 hours or so tonight, inexplicably. So I am here with another edition of my Inner Goddess Team series, and it's really I'm definitely in the mode of Thanksgiving, which is this week in the U.S., and of great gratitude and abundance and being thankful for blessings, and at the same time looking for continued abundance, not obviously just in this week, of health, of wealth, always. Isn't that fun? So I was looking for goddesses that that personify the idea of celebrating the harvest, celebrating the bountiful harvest of our lives and the things that we have worked on that we are bringing to fruition. So this one is that I happened on. I think I've kind of referred to her in the past, but she is a Japanese Shinto, also celebrated in the Buddhist tradition, kami. And kami, just like last time I was talking about orishas being the Yoruban name for goddesses, kami are goddesses or deities in the Shinto and Buddhist tradition. What's interesting about Inari, and that's who we're looking at today, she is the goddess of harvest and fertility. She governs, or her spirit animals, I guess we would call them, are foxes, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But also abundance in every level, not just in agriculturally speaking, but that was a big part of her origin, but also in business success. So I feel like, and what's fascinating about her is that she is still so deeply revered in Japan today. There are shrines all over the country. A third of the various shrines, sure wish we had shrines like that in this country. Maybe we do in ways, and if you know about them, let me know. But she represents a third of the shrines that exist even today in Japan. So very much still in modern day culture. And even with that, what's interesting for me is that she's kind of androgynous. She's a complex goddess, a complex kami, in that sometimes she's personified as a young, fertile woman, in the vein of fertility, and sometimes as an elderly, wise man, always with flowing robes. And of course, here I'm always going to be focusing on the divine feminine side of things. And she is considered an embodiment in her feminine mode of the divine feminine, that she brings to light the qualities that I've talked about so often here, and why I do these videos in the first place, to bring back bring back or rise up. They're there in our still very patriarchal culture, the qualities of compassion and collaboration and cooperation and honoring our intuition and all of that. But she is a representation of, and I'm looking at my notes, because as revered as she is in Japan, she's not one that I knew about, which is not saying a whole lot because there are so many goddesses in the world. So in Shingon Buddhism in particular, she's connected with the attributes of purifying light. And she really brings together this blend of Shinto and Buddhism in the way that she brings together this very multifaceted being that she is. She is also associated, so when we talk about harvest in Japan, it's basically the rice harvest. And there are many celebrations of her throughout the year. And there is a big one and I actually have the name of it, Hataki Sai, that happens in November. So I absolutely mean no disrespect in the way that I bring in all these goddesses for different times of the year. I just want to expose you to this qualities, the power of the divine feminine, how she exists in every culture, every religion, every country around the world. So feeling very sensitive about that, since I had someone push back at me about one of my recent Inner Goddess team things. Always want to do this with reverence and respect. And those of you that are either followers of or know more about Inari in this case, but certainly any of the other goddesses that I highlight here, I would really love to hear. So backtracking. So rice harvest means she's also connected with sake, which is the very beloved, famous alcohol wine that comes from, hi Darcy, that is made from wine. So she's agriculture, she's industry, she's kind of general prosperity. And her, as much as we can trace her honoring way back, some say as much as the 5th century. And there's definitely an Inari shrine at Inari Mountain. Fancy that. In like 711 AD. There's not a lot of mythology around her. I think because she is so complex, and she can take on, both the feminine and masculine qualities of God and goddess. There's some I read somewhere, one of the places that I researched, that she is sometimes depicted as the daughter of the major deities, Izanagi and Izanami, and I actually highlighted Izanami in August of this year. Didn't see much more about that. And depending on what aspect you are following with her, whether as a male deity or a female deity, she's connected with different deities as well. The only thing resembling a myth about her that I could find, even though they trace her honoring, her celebrations back many centuries, is that sometimes, and I guess her connection with foxes, I wasn't even sure what the origin of that was, but it's very deep, and I'll show you pictures in a minute. That she has the shape-shifting ability, and which apparently foxes could do. So occasionally she would shape-shift into the form of a woman from a deity, and that she loved to do that, to sleep with men, and as a result they would have fabulous crops that year. And one of these men realized that he was sleeping with the goddess, when he saw her foxtail wagging underneath the blankets. And to honor him, to thank him for not revealing this, she rewarded his discretion by causing all of his rice to grow upside down. And so he had a full harvest, but he wasn't taxed on it. That's the closest thing to any Inari mythology I could find. So the fox connection, again, not quite sure how that came to be, but foxes are called kitsunes in the Shinto tradition, and they serve as messengers or guardians. They're depicted either in red or white, and they appear at her shrines as statues, often in red. Red is associated with her, holding keys, and they represent her role as the guardian of wealth and storehouses. She's also connected too, I found, with different crafts, and I guess that's part of the business success part of her. So she's, yes, you can call on her for literal harvest, our agricultural harvest, but also just general prosperity and well-being. And farmers pray to her still to this day for protection against crop failures and pests and that kind of thing. And I loved this too. This is one of the ways that she continues to endure even into modern times. That while people in Japan still pray to her for financial success, she's actually, let me find what the business was. So statues of her guarding Inari shrines and fox masks are also very popular, during her different festivals. But businesses often display her statues of fox figurines to attract prosperity, reflecting her association with with good fortune. Oh, here it is. Many companies, including Shishido, revere Inari as a patron kami. Remember, kami means goddess, with shrines on top of their corporate headquarters. Isn't that beautiful? I wish we did that in our country, in the U.S. She's also, now, not only was she connected with physical, agricultural stuff, but cultural practices too. The concept of omotenashi, which is Japanese hospitality, is said to have roots in Inari worship. It emphasizes generosity and good fortune in business transactions, all the things that she's kind of connected with. So the fox thing, I feel like there was something else I wanted to bring up about foxes. She's considered a benevolent goddess, and so and foxes have this reputation in general of being either very cunning and deceptive or helpful and protective, and so she only allows the helpful, protective ones to guard her shrines. Here's just a beautiful artistic picture of her with her foxes. You can see her foxes and dressed in red. And this I love. This, and unfortunately I couldn't, because my internet was screwy, I couldn't reduce this to a size, so it's pixelated in a really weird way. But this is actually one of the statues of one of the foxes guarding. You can see that she's got a red necklace, a red ribbon around her neck, and in the background is this shrine. And one of the defining features of the Inari shrines are that they are sometimes multiple gates, but always a red gate. And again, if I can find that quickly, it's got that these red gates have a name as well, and of course I'm not going to be able to find it. It starts with a T. So at any rate, this is the week. And as I always say, even though I often pick the goddesses that I'm highlighting according to the season or the moon sign or, whatever, in this case, it's Thanksgiving week. And I knew I wanted I knew I wanted a deity that had to do with Thanksgiving, because that's where I am. So you can call on her when you want to build your business success, yes, but also take the metaphor, the symbolic representation of her really helping to ensure a bountiful harvest. All the things that you've been wishing for, call on her anytime during the year. And I always say that yes, I brought her in during this Thanksgiving week, but call on her anytime during the year when you need that kind of support for prosperity and abundance, either in your garden or in your business. And so what I'll leave you with, and I was surprised to look back through my notes and realize that I hadn't done this beautiful chant that is not a Japanese one, but a beautiful chant that I love. That's a thank you gratitude chant. And I haven't done it since like 2022. I don't think I've done it here in my Inner Goddess Team videos. So I just invite you to close your eyes and take this in and carry this with you as we move through and beyond this Thanksgiving week into this big holiday period that we're in. Thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you, Sister Water. Thank you for my birth. Thank you from your daughter. Thank you, Brother Sky. Thank you, air in motion. Thank you, everyone. Earth, fire, air, and ocean. And I love this one. I'll sing it one more time because it really brings in all the elements too. And I often, I should have brought it over, but I often have my rick, my tambourine with me when I'm doing this in a circle, because it can be very jazzy, and you can even clap your hands to it. So it's thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you, air in motion. Thank you for my birth. Sorry, I'm starting over. Thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you, Sister Water. Thank you for my birth. Thank you from your daughter. Oh, thank you, brother sky. Thank you, air in motion. Thank you, everyone. Earth, sun, earth, fire, air, and ocean. So, lots of gratitude, lots of thank yous in that beautiful chant. And I invite you to just move through your week with that in your heart, with gratitude in your heart. Happy Thanksgiving for those of you that celebrate in whatever way you do, with family, quietly. Have a beautiful holiday time.